All right. I think we can go ahead and get started. Well, good morning, everyone. I want to thank you for joining us for part 3 of our 3-part series on the North Carolina Civil Rights Trail Marker Program. My name is Marquisa. I'm the program coordinator, and today I will be joined by Ansley Wegner, who has been a source of knowledge for us throughout this process, and she actually works with the Historic Highway Marker Program. So we can go ahead and get started. I'm going to give you a little physical description of the markers. So the markers will be 18 inches by 32 inches in size, and they will sit on a 7-foot pole, cast aluminum. If you look at the marker example here, the title will be 15 characters long, and it will cap at 15 characters. So for that title, you'll have 15 characters, and then below that, you will have 5 lines of body text. Each line will cap at 27 characters. That does include spaces and punctuation. So like you see in the example here, we'll have that initial title, which will be 15 characters, and then each line after that will be 27. And you'll have 5 additional lines for body content for the marker. It also will have the North Carolina Civil Rights Trail logo on it, as well as the color scheme. So we can see that. Okay. So now we'll talk a little bit about where the markers can go, and I'll have Ansley take over this portion. If you want to tell us a little bit about your knowledge and your experience of where markers can go.
Sure. So the state historical markers are allowed in the state right-of-way. DOT only allows the North Carolina Highway Historical Marker Program markers to be in the state right-of-way. So that's the one place they can't go. It varies in each town and county where the state right-of-way ends and where the county, city, municipality, whatever right-of-way begins. And you can usually get somebody from the county or from the town, because if it's going to be in the town or city, you've got to get the town or city, or you can get the county involved in kind of helping you determine where you can put the marker off of the state right-of-way. But another thing that I always like to suggest to people is the further away from the road you can be, the safer your marker is going to be, because they get hit by cars a lot. I've had a marker, I always tell the story, it was up at most 10 days before it was hit by a truck and destroyed. So, you know, that's a lot of money to have to replace a marker, you know, that's been up for just over a week. So if you can get a little bit further away from the road, you're going to be further away from the drunk drivers and the snow plows and things like that that are not a friend to the historical markers. So I like to suggest places like schools and churches, the libraries, where you can get onto that property, get permission from, say, the school board or the church, and have it actually on the property of that place, because that's going to be, you know, there's going to be a lot of the Civil Rights Trail markers that are associated with a specific building. And so, you know, all the better to have it closer, you know, to the building and off of the roadway, where people can walk up to it and read it and take pictures with it. So that is always my recommendation, to just, for safety's sake, try to stay away from the road. But if you're going to be really close to the road, you're going to have to work with the town and the county to determine where the state right-of-way ends.
Thank you, Ansley.
Sure.
And now we'll just talk a little bit about applicant responsibility versus program responsibility. So the program will cover the fabrication and the shipping of the physical marker. From there, the installation, the maintenance, and replacement are the responsibility of the applicant. As Ansley just told us, she gave us some advice on some placement so you can avoid any maintenance costs or replacement costs. But those three things, installation, maintenance, and replacement costs, will fall under the responsibility of the applicant. With that, you'll need to include a letter from the land marker or the landowner granting permission for the marker to be placed and installed. That will need to be part of your application. It will be required to be accepted as an application. So just keep that in mind as you're working through in applying for the marker program. As well as that, marker recipients are going to be responsible for arranging marker placement with the owners or municipal offices. So you will be responsible for coordinating who is actually coming in and installing and arranging the marker in place. So if you have questions about that, you can feel free to reach out to us. We can offer some clarity in that area, but that ultimately will fall on the marker recipient. And I just want to, I'm sorry, Nancy, is there anything else you want to add to that? Or,
I think you just sort of need to brainstorm in terms of who you can get to help you place the marker. They're fairly heavy, but these markers that you're going to be using, that style is not unwieldy. And people with post hole diggers, so a fence company might be able to help because they just need to get in and sink that post about 3 feet deep. I've heard Boy Scouts are good. They're always needing service hours. ROTC units. There was a group in Anson County who was putting up some markers, and they got the ROTC unit from UNC Charlotte to come and help them. So people who need service hours are often available to help do these kinds of things. It could be that the city or county can also help. I've never heard anybody just not able to get one up, but I also don't get a lot of feedback as to who's come through to put them in for people. But I know that there's people who can help, and these aren't as big as the state markers. They're about half the height, so they're not too heavy for say high school boys or something to help with.
Thank you. And with that, I just want to reiterate our submission and notification periods. Round 1 started in August and will wrap up January 1st of 2021. That is the application deadline for the first round, and applicants will be notified of whether they were accepted or denied by February of 2021. Second round will take place. It will open up in April of 2021 and run through October. Notification will be in November. And then our final round for the marker program will open up in February of 2022. It will run through August, and notification will take place in September of 2022. So you are able to apply one additional time. So I just want to make that known. If you don't get a marker the first time around, you are able to apply one additional time. And it looks like we have some questions. Or just a little explanation. How do you recommend folks get in touch with who do you recommend folks get in touch with in their towns and counties to figure out the right of way?
You want me to take this one?
Sure, thank you.
So it's usually, there's going to be, if you go into, it's called different things in different counties and cities, but if you go into, say, the town of Apex, North Carolina, look for road maintenance or, anything related to the roads or highways. The counties usually have something called a highway office. It's just going to kind of depend. One person who always knows everything is going to be your city manager, county manager. If you can't figure it out just looking around at the offices websites. Go to the county manager or the city manager and ask them who you need to talk to.
Okay, thank you. I also want to note that groups have time to install their markers. They just need to be installed before the end of the year. And then I have an additional question, I believe. In terms of installing markers, do they need to be set in concrete the same as a fence post? In your experience, Ansley, I think you mentioned that they just need to be, I think they'll be cemented down about 3 feet, you said?
Well, they're sunk. The posts are generally 3 feet longer than they're supposed to be in height. So we order 10-foot posts that are sunk 3 feet in the ground. I think that these markers go on shorter posts. I think it's maybe a 7-foot post.
It's a 7-foot post. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that's not going to be all that tall. It depends on where they're putting it and what the soil's like. A lot of places do not use concrete. And especially if they're going to be really close to the road, they don't want you to use concrete because that becomes a worse wreck when a car hits it. And 3 feet usually, and especially with the weight of these markers, is going to be, if it's sunk 3 feet into good solid North Carolina clay, it's going to stand.
Yeah, if you have additional questions, we are taking questions now. Let's see, Shelby Holmes. For the marker dimensions, it's 18 by 32 sitting on top of a 7-foot pole. Is the total height 7 foot? We have a side weight ordinance that lists 7 feet as a minimum height, so just want to clarify. So yeah, the pole itself will be about 7 foot. And I think it actually will be a little shorter after that.
Right.
So I think you will be fine in that respect, that you'll meet that that side weight ordinance, Shelby.
Well, if one thing I'm thinking is if she's talking about a minimum of being on the sidewalk because car doors are opening, because we've actually run into that before where we wanted to put a marker on a short post because it had a lot of text, the Wilmington Coup marker. We wanted it on a 7-foot post and it couldn't go on a 7-foot post because of car doors opening. So I thought she said that it had to be a minimum of 7 feet.
Yeah, that looks like what she's saying.
So these are going to be lower than 7 feet. The marker itself will be below the 7-foot range.
So that might cause an issue then.
At least in terms of putting them in, a sidewalk type location. Okay. I don't know if it's flexible that if they could purchase a 10-foot marker, a 10-foot post, they're a little bit more expensive if applicants were to want to do that. I don't know if that's an option. It does set them pretty high, and I don't know what that would look like.
So Shelby, let me get more clarification on that, and I can email you directly if you want to list your email, or just shoot me an email. Actually, let me change that, go over to the next screen. There we go. Here is my name and my title and email. If you have additional questions or would like to follow up, you can send me an email there and I will be in contact with you. So Shelby, feel free to email me and I'll give you a more clear answer after the presentation. And also, round 1 markers should be installed by December 2021, again, before the end of the year when they were awarded. Round 2 markers should be installed by September of 2022, and then round 3 markers should be installed by January 2023. All awardees will have time to coordinate their installation within that time. So just another note there. If anybody else has any questions, please feel free to ask or feel free to email me at the email on the screen. So I'll give it a few minutes for any additional questions. All right. Well, if there's nothing else, I want to thank you all for attending our final session on the North Carolina Civil Rights Trail program. Please feel free to visit our website to look at the recordings of any of our previous webinars. It is a three-part series. First part gave a general overview of the program. The second part went over how to apply in detail, and this final part discusses marker placement in a little detail. So please feel free to watch those recordings on our website. This one will be added to the website shortly after the presentation. And again, if you have any comments, questions, or concerns pertaining to the program, please feel free to email me. And thank you for joining us. More information is available at our website, and that is also listed on this slide below. Thank you very much, everyone.